just a few months ago, I was someone who was going to bed and waking up at like 2:30 or 3 a.m. and just was like, I won't be able to get back to sleep, and just wasn't able to do it and would just stay up throughout the day. And this was like, this was very common for me until I maybe would finally crash Thursday and then begin the cycle all over again. Um, it's crazy to think that that was my experience. And within a couple of weeks, I was able to solve that basically by following the guidance of the modules. I think I was trying to tackle the symptoms, if you will, without really understanding the bigger issue. And I think one of the things that this program has helped me with is really to understand um, that this isn't some world renowned problem. I don't have some like incredibly rare disease that just can't be solved. And I think, it really helped me tackle some of the mental aspects that were getting in the way of getting a good night's rest. I think the other things that I researched, say, for example, listening to sleep stories and, trying to use like the Calm app and stuff like that, um, I think, they'll help you with certain problems. They didn't necessarily help me, but I think if you don't understand why it is that you're having trouble falling asleep and trying to just attack the symptoms, that's not necessarily going to work out for you. So I
Mhm.
think the things that I was doing in terms of like, oh, okay, like I remember reading online, if you mix like this vinegar tea and honey recipe, that's supposed to help you fall asleep. I think I got that from like a Tim Ferriss podcast or blog or something like that. That's supposed to like knock you out, and it just didn't work for me. And I think the reason that those didn't necessarily work for me is because I was trying to fix the symptoms, which without really understanding why it was I was being unsuccessful. So I probably, like a lot of people with sleep issues, um, was trying to really track and understand the issue. So all that being said, I've had this like Fitbit for a number of years. So in answering this question, I can say really confidently that before joining the program, that my sleep was constantly 5 hours or less, especially during the week. So my schedule had been one of where I would go to bed, maybe not as early as I could have, but I would constantly wake up pretty early, usually before 5 a.m. Depending on what all was going on, I would wake up usually sometime between 2 and 5 a.m., and it would be very difficult for me to get back to sleep, almost impossible. And so I would just get up. So a lot of the times when I was working out in the morning, I would get usually 5 hours or less. Very rarely did I see 6 hours of sleep uh, during the night. And yeah, that was a pretty consistent daily thing. So I think the major issue is the one that I talked about where I would wake up sometime between 2 and 5 a.m. And just not be able to get back to sleep. Um, Whereas now that I have gone through the program and basically have put some of those methodologies into play, I'm able to sleep through the night. And I know I can, whereas I didn't believe I could before. So that's been a huge thing for me. I will say that in terms of how much do I sleep a night, usually it's probably somewhere in the 6 to 7 hour range, something like that. So for me, being able to just sleep consistently through the night and at least get 6 hours of sleep has been like a huge, huge change because I would consider 5 hours a lot of sleep previously. Um, and I also was unable to sleep completely through the night. Never had an issue going to bed, but did have an issue with every night like clockwork. It would be like 2:30. I would wake up. I wouldn't be able to go back to sleep. Um, and all of that being said, I do want to say that, definitely the effort I could have put into the program could have been a whole lot more. And I think I still have a lot of work to do, but it's been really amazing that I do feel like just from the work that I've put in terms of really understanding the issues, um, and, making a few changes here and there, especially like, and I don't know, a lot. a lot of the introspective work that I did was just really big. And I think I felt like I got such a win from that, just being able to sleep through the night, that, yeah, I could have put in a lot more work. But all of that being said, it's like, okay, I know the things that I need to improve upon now. And I think that if I consistently wanted to get like 8+ hours of sleep, then I know the things I need to work on to do that. And that has been really big. So this program has shown me that this isn't, getting a good night's sleep isn't just for like the, I don't know, like top 10% of people or something like that. It isn't some anomaly that just can't be achieved. It actually can be achieved. And, it's definitely shown me the steps in ways that I can get there. I still have more work to do, but it's just been amazing going through the program, working with you weekly, and just seeing the improvement, in a short time. How long did it take me before I started to sleep better? I would honestly say that probably within the first 2 weeks, definitely, if not less. I mentioned a lot of the introspective work in terms of, what are your thoughts around sleep and your beliefs around not being able to sleep and it being like this huge issue, so on and so forth. Like that, those were among, some of the first modules that we were introduced to. And I think those, um, uh, I don't want to give like I don't know if like there are things I shouldn't like say within this portion of it, but a lot of that work really led to overcoming the issues that kept me awake all night, because you realize that, okay, I had these fears and these beliefs deeply ingrained, tied to, oh, okay, I know I'm going to wake up, and as soon as I wake up, I'm never able to get back to sleep. It's not going to happen for me. And conquering that was a big portion of really improving my sleep, right? Because
Hmm.
now I go from, okay, if I had gone to sleep at 9 and I wake up at 2:30 or wake up at 3 or something like that, I go from that just being it to actually being able to, get back to sleep, to kind of like troubleshoot and to sleep until 5 or 6. And I remember initially it was actually causing me a lot of issues because I've mentioned usually I like to be in the gym between, or I didn't mention that, but usually I like to be in the gym between 5 a.m. and 6 a.m. And then I can, work out, shower, start my day somewhere around like 8, 8:30. And I was actually getting so much sleep that it was, I was waking up at like 6, and then I was starting work later. In our work schedule, you have to work between a certain time frame, but it is flexible in terms of like starting and ending ish. um and I remember at first, within those first couple of weeks, I was actually like, whoa, I am way off my normal schedule. Like I need to make some more adjustments, just because I was sleeping through and it was just so amazing.
Hmm.
um Another big change for me, or another thing that I found that really helped, was the fact that, you know, the program uses the Aura Ring. And previously, I had been using, I mean, I still wear it on a day-to-day basis, but previously I had been using a Fitbit. And part of my issue was even knowing what time it was, right? Because that just kind of triggered all of my other issues, in terms of I would wake up, I would look at my watch, and then it's like hopelessness and despair, and oh, I'll never be able to go back to sleep. Um, and just also just transitioning from using the Fitbit at night to using the Aura Ring, to where I actually don't know what time it is, and I found that that's better for me, was also really, really helpful. My experience working with Science Academy was really good. I think like, in working with you on the weekly sessions, I mentioned previously in a question, I don't know if it'll make it onto the end result of the testimonial, that I definitely could have put in more time and effort, and I still feel like my results were phenomenal, right? Like you don't. It's so funny because I have, for the first time in a long time, experience, like, I think I was in bed for like 8+ hours, and it was just this amazing, amazing feeling of rest. And it's like, wow, okay, well, that is what I need to more consistently work into. Have I been a little bit inconsistent in terms of like the night routines and stuff like that? Yes. But in terms of working with Sleep Science Academy, it's been an amazing experience. I think I have definitely it's helped me to get rid of like a pretty big issue. Like you don't realize in terms of being able to show up and having energy and stuff like that, how big of an issue and how like consistent the issue is until you experience the other side of it where you are well. In terms of answering my question, it was amazing. When I didn't necessarily stick to the things that I said I was going to stick to. I was never really made to feel bad about it. I was always, told to kind of like look at it as a project. Just I need to make some tweaks here and there. And I think one of the important portions of this and working with you is that you realize you're not really like a victim. Like a lot of the things that I would struggle with, we would like talk openly about. And it was I feel like one of the things you did was just really do a good job of being like, you know what, you do have control over this. You can make these adjustments, right? That is within the scope of things that you can do to make those changes and get that result that you're seeing. Still working on, doing all of it. But that's life. Life happens. Experience in terms of improving my sleep has done so much more for me. Like it's made me realize that how interwoven different things are, because a lot of this, right, in terms, a big part of the program is stress management and knowing the ways that how stress comes into play, how stress interferes with your life, and it just makes you more deliberate about the ways you go about things. So let me answer that question first, and then let me go back to kind of like what I was saying. But in terms of how has sleep, improving my sleep affected my life, it's definitely made my day to day just a lot better, because I basically what I was doing before is I was in this really toxic cycle of um, not getting enough sleep, waking up groggy, still dragging myself to the gym, and then just drinking like a lot of caffeine throughout the day to really kind of like hold myself over, and then just coming home, not necessarily being in the best mindset, and feeling groggy, feeling like not great. I think in terms of how I was at work, I was just very short and easily annoyed with folks. And I've definitely seen just like, those qualities of life improve. Now, all that to say, like, I think that has been like a lot more gradual. I think realizing that, the lack of energy and stuff like that just led to like the constant irritation. Like that's not how I necessarily wanted to be with my coworkers. That's not how I necessarily wanted to be, when I'm at home. So I think it's improved in that way. And then just like, when I really am on, really am doing everything well, and really am in terms of like just like the energy management, it's like incredible. Like I remember at one point, and I'm someone who used to have like, 4 or 5 caffeinated beverages throughout the day. I remember at one point not even wanting to drink coffee just because I knew the jitters and all of the effects that kind of went with it. And I just didn't want that. Like, I just liked the feeling of, uh, that came with kind of like sleeping well. And I don't know, it was kind of like this surreal, tranquil feeling. And you really don't know what that's like until you experience it, right? Um, so I will say it's definitely changed my life in that way. When you experience good sleep and you experience like what waking up and feeling refreshed and rejuvenated is like you just kind of don't want to go backwards. So there's that. Who would I say this program is designed for? I think it is, honestly, I think anyone who is really busy and on the go, um, this would be a good program for them. To be completely honest, um, I think anyone who has any kind of sleep issue to where you're not getting enough sleep to where you have the energy to power your life and throughout your day and into the evening, I think this course would definitely benefit you. Basically, the modules are all online, so it's very flexible in terms of those results. In terms of like the coaches and the one-on-one weekly sessions, those are very flexible. I had some times where I missed some sections, and you were really good about, rescheduling and adjusting those. So basically, I would say it's for anybody who um, has sleep issues, doesn't know what it's like to consistently get a good night's sleep, and needs to improve, just because, like, oh my goodness, that's and it's an absolute game changer, right? Like, um, in terms of being a single thing you can do to just elevate your life in all these different areas. So I would say anyone who isn't getting a good night's sleep, this would definitely be designed for them. What I have seen is that um, uh, I think this would be really good for folks who are just always going and doing, like, kind of those like high achiever types who maybe they're like entrepreneurs or stuff like that. I think the program does a really good job in terms of like being able to fit it in whenever you can. So yeah, I honestly, I want to see anyone who has had sleep issues take it, but I think definitely for those who are always on the go, always doing things, I think it would definitely be really beneficial for those types of folks. In terms of my experience working with Sleep Cycle, it was just really amazing. I think it was very empowering. It was very positive. And of course, in terms of the information and solving the issues, I definitely got what I wanted. So yeah, I definitely would recommend that, it's something important. It's something they need to ensure that they carve out time for, um, and however they need to get it done, whether they schedule that in to their calendar or, something like that. Definitely make sure you set aside time for it. Definitely make sure you take it slow. Don't necessarily expect instant results, right? Because just depending on what you're going through and your issues, might it might take some work to actually solve. For me, I mentioned in the question, like, within 2 weeks I saw sleep improvement. I did. That is just my experience. But for other folks, it might take a little bit longer. So definitely just, you know, plug in, go through the material, talk about things open and honestly with your coach, because I think that was so incredibly helpful. I didn't want to just like sit here and be like, oh yeah, everything's fine. Like, when I wasn't following something, I mentioned it. When maybe I was struggling with my caffeine intake, I mentioned it, because those were very helpful in terms of helping me work through those different things. So I'm ranting now, but I guess, okay, let me try and summarize it. What I would say is, one, it could potentially take time. So don't get discouraged if you don't find like instant results. Two, make sure that you actually set aside time and schedule it so that you're able to go through the material. Three, make sure you actually really understand the material. Don't just try and like fast forward through all of it. And four, um, in your sessions with your coach, just be open and honest, because I think, and what I found is that, they were very empowering, they were very positive. And in terms of my actual issues, um, even if they weren't like sleep related, maybe if it was like, oh, I'm so stressed out with work, those sessions were just so helpful in terms of game planning and helping me really come up with a strategy to ensure that I still did get good sleep. So I guess those four things, just in terms of the sessions, make sure you're like open, honest, and yeah.